Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Get Heavy podcast. Scheimer is not in on the call right now. He had something come up, but my good friend, Nick, guitar player for Pyrolatrous, gnarly New York band. We toured together back in the day when he was also in Hull. And he is a guitar tech for many bands, Gojira. The list goes on. Blind Melon, right? You were telling me,
yeah. Portugal the Man.
a billion
Yeah.
bands. So I just wanted to talk to you and say hello. How are you? And so you're a New York resident as well, who was pretty much smart enough to get out when it started hitting New York, right?
Yeah, man, it's brutal right now. Yeah, I live right across the street from Wyckoff Hospital in Bushwick in Brooklyn, and right now, currently, there is a refrigerator morgue truck on my block. They're loading bodies in and out all day long, 24 hours a day. It's bleak there, and like my girlfriend and I left the city on St. Patrick's Day and came down to Maryland to stay with her parents for a while. And when we were leaving the city, a lot of my friends and everything were like, wow, you're blowing this out of proportion. Like, why are you doing this? And like those same people now are saying, like, oh my God, it's so good you got out of the city. Like, I wish I was out of the city. And so just like, having, I guess, some of that knowledge ahead of time, I'm really grateful for that, to be, I'm in a place now where it's like, yeah, it's tough. It's like there's 5 people in here and there's 4 cats and a dog and whatever. But
yeah, it's a lot.
But it's awesome, and I'm super grateful for it. Like, we have some hiking trails close by that we can go out and get some exercise. And there's a car, like in New York, like nobody has a car, and you got to depend on like bodegas and like overcrowded grocery stores and shit to get what you need. And then of course it's like the belly of the beast. It's like the epicenter. So there's so many cases of it there, and at least here it's there's that feeling of it being a little bit removed from it. And then of course when you go out of the house, so like when we have to go to the grocery store once a week or whatever, it's like it's real because it's like everyone's in masks and gloves and so yeah, we're just like hunkered down, and I brought my music production gear down here, and I've been writing a ton of new music, so I'm happy about that at the very least. Maybe like right before all this happened in December, Pyrolatrous recorded a brand new album, the same place that we recorded the first one, Tenorol, at it's called Barbershop Studios in New Jersey. With Brett Romness. He was actually the first drummer of Hull. Really good friend from way back, amazing engineer. And we tracked it there. And then, we were just in the process, like Sanford Parker just mixed it. We got the final mixes back. And now everything came to a halt. It's like labels aren't putting anything out. There's no more money. Like, we're basically paying for everything. So there's no more money for to finish it and get it mastered and like do the artwork. And so everything is just kind of on hold, and so I'm just hoping to like come out of this with maybe another new album that the band can learn and record.
Yeah, get a record in the can while you got the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's a trip because I'm in the same spot. I took years off after the Wrath and then started a new band. And we literally recorded a record. We got all the artwork done. We have a small label that we're doing a pressing with. You know what I mean? And literally everything shuts down like right as it gets sent off to the pressing plant. So it's like we're going like complete, not DIY, but we're not worried about a label. We're paying for our own marketing. You know what I mean? Or that kind of shit. We're just doing all ourselves because the thing is I have zero interest in really touring it like we did in the past,
Yeah.
And so, but now it's like, is anyone alive, or like what does this even look like? Our record was already like, it felt like 6 months behind, you know what I mean? Because we're waiting on artwork and kind of just seeing what we wanted to do with it. And it, like, now that all the momentum got going, we had everything set up for the marketing to get released we wanted to release like early May, essentially. And
Right.
it's just at a screeching fucking halt, man. You know, it's a trip. So
Yeah, it's brutal, but you know, it's like I'm trying to just remember every day, just like I can start spinning out real easily,
right,
the existential crisis, to all like, oh, I'm this
totally,
age, and this, the lack of savings, and I've been like doing, punk rock and metal my whole life, and like sleeping on floors and touring
yeah,
around and whatever, and now it's like I have my music gear and like not much else, and so it's just like it's been a good time to like slow down and think about things and like be super grateful for like what I do have, because to be honest, it's like yeah, it's a bit frustrating, and I can get irritable at times or whatever, but like I do have it way better than a lot of people right now, and I try to remember that every day,
yeah,
and I do have the chance to like take a breath, slow down, do work on my craft, and do what I really love, and just hopefully like this will slow down soon, and like the death toll will slow down soon, because it's bleak, and also try to remember that like throughout history, there's been, I mean, trying to think about people that went through like the Holocaust and shit, and like
oh yeah, I mean,
World War II, and different famines and all that shit. And it's like we can get through this,
yeah, I mean, I it sounds dumb to quote memes, but there literally was like World War II. You were asked to go, back in the 40s, you were asked to go to war. You're asked to sit, like you've been asked to sit at home, like you're not, it's not war, dude. You know what I mean? Like you're fucking at home, But like, I wanted to ask, so living across the street from the hospital, you're literally seeing how bad it is at this point, even in that early March, right? So you're seeing how bad it is. You're seeing them bring a refrigerator truck in to fucking house bodies, which I watched a Vice thing about that exact same thing. You know what I mean? Them fighting for 5 ventilators at a time and shit like that. So, I mean, do you think that accelerated your anxiety of it, or is it? I mean, I know when we were on tour, I'm not going to say you're an anxious dude, but you're definitely the guy that made sure shit runs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm that guy too. You know what I mean? So I think that's why me and you got along so well.
Yeah.
Because it was like,
I've always
man,
been
we just got to keep this fucking ship not sinking, right? So, do you think that like you're naturally like that was gonna get you were gonna get there if that you didn't see what was happening? Like, do you think you would have got to the same place where you were like, I need to get the fuck out of here? Or do you think if you didn't live where you were and so close to it, you would have maybe stuck it out?
No. I mean, I think I probably would have left regardless. You know what I mean? And I was starting to see it. We were chatting a little bit about like some of the things I do and whatever. And like as a guitar tech, and I tour around, and so one of the bands I work with now primarily is Portugal the Man. And we were just,
which I love that band.
Yeah.
God damn it. I love that band.
They're great people. Like they do a lot of charity work and like all, like fucking great band. But yeah, we were just, it was pretty amazing. We were just in Hawaii. We did a show out there, and then, so I was out there, my girlfriend and I, and the drum tech Mitch and his girlfriend Kaina, we were out in Kauai for like a week beforehand, and then did the show on the Big Island, and flew back to Phoenix to do one fest and then home. And that was in February, and we were seeing a lot of people like in the airports and stuff at that time were wearing masks, and it was kind of like, and I was still sort of in that mindset of like man, like people are like kind of blowing this out of proportion, like
right.
And then just like every single day, it just kept getting worse and worse. And then by like mid-March, my girlfriend and I just made the decision, like we should get out of here. And it was actually, I didn't really feel like how serious it was until we were supposed to go to Mexico. Like Portugal was supposed to go to Mexico for like a week, and had everything planned, and was really looking forward to it. And like the day before we were supposed to fly out, or 2 days before, something like that, tour manager hit us up and was like, yeah, Mexico's canceled. And it was just like a reality check, because yeah, man, like, it's like people in our industry, that's kind of what we do. Like we sort of live tour to tour and paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, man. I mean, nothing cancels a tour besides some major shit going on. You know what I mean? So that is one of the, I mean, especially like with Portugal, that is a machine, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
huge machine to stop moving unless there is a serious reason. You know, like one of my band's tours, like if it gets canceled, it's because someone fucked up and didn't book it right, you know? But like
Right,
a
right.
machine like that, like Portugal, like Gojira, any of those bands you've been working with for the last fucking 10 years, is like, for them to cancel an event is a big fucking deal, you know, in all of our minds, even as artists, you know, like
Right.
you don't cancel
Well,
shit, you know?
yeah, and then we started, and then very quickly started hearing word about, oh, like, like, oh, the next couple months, and then the day after that was like, oh, maybe the rest of the year is going to be canceled, and that's my primary source of income. And then when I'm not on tour, I do guitar work in Brooklyn, like I work on people's guitars and setups and intonations and electronic work and shit.
Yeah.
And I started thinking like literally everything I do, like I do kind of jack of all trades. I do a lot of different things. You live in New York, you got to
Yeah,
hustle.
you look like, I've seen your posts. You know how to swing a hammer, brother. You know what I mean? You could
Yeah,
you
man.
could
Like
put
I
some
grew
walls
up,
up if you had
yeah,
to.
like all that shit. Like I grew up as a builder with my dad and like
Right.
whatever. But like, and I do AV work as well. Like I went to school for audio engineering. So like everything I kind of do nowadays has to do sort of with like audio, in the audio realm, or like guitar work, whatever. And I started thinking about like, okay, so my main source of income has been canceled for maybe the rest of the year. And then, like when I'm not on tour, I do guitar work, and like, all these shows, all these gigs, everything's canceled. People don't have expendable income.
Mm-hmm.
So, the possibility of like getting enough guitar work to
Stay
survive off
afloat,
of that.
man. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and then the AV work, and it's generally like, I actually work with, Elliot Hoffman from Car Bomb, the drummer of Car Bomb.
Oh, okay.
Amazing drummer and band. But anyway, he has a company, an AV company called Hoftech, and I work with him, and we generally do major installations in like ultra wealthy, like upscale, townhouses in New York. And I started thinking about like, okay, like those are going to be closed. We're not going to be able to do that. That work's going to be so long story short, like all my work is canceled. Right. So immediately it was like reality hit. And it didn't really hit until like I lost that Mexico gig, and then reality hit, and I'm like, fuck, like what am I like, I'm fucked. And so as soon as that happened, it was a pretty easy decision to come down to Maryland, into like a suburb, and get the fuck out of New York City.
Right.
So like I fortunately have not actually seen with my own eyes like any of that stuff we were talking about, like the refrigerated morgue truck on my block.
Oh, okay.
Like I've had like a friend of mine sent me that link, and it was like I said, it was literally like on my block that I live on, and I was like, man, I'm just I'm so happy I'm out of there.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, it's something inherently like, so it's so instinctual to be in a place like that for me and be like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, some people aren't. You know what I mean? Some people are like, and I know New Yorkers are inherently fucking tough. And your guys' germ exposure is 20 times what ours are. You know what I mean?
Like
the subway alone, it's like,
yeah.
And I was talking to Drew.
In,
We had Drew on last week, and and I just thought, like, I mean, half of you guys were probably like, fuck it, we'll be fine. You know what I mean? And then it takes something like that to really, especially like, you're out in airports, you're traveling the world, you're seeing it hit everywhere else already. You're starting to hear about it and see it, so it has to, like, once it hits home, now it's home, right? And my instinct, I live in a place that's not very crowded. We're an hour outside of LA, so I don't have to worry about what you worry about. You know what I mean? If I go to the store, I can put my shit on and I'm good. You know what I mean? But I can go for a nice walk in my neighborhood without being around 1,000 people. But
yeah, and the sad thing is, like, there's so many people in this world that like they don't have that privilege.
not
People,
at all.
Homeless people, or like people that live in impoverished sections of the world. It's like, what do they do? And it's brutal, and it's sad, and it's scary, and there's also, like I was talking about, like that gratitude of like trying to hold that gratitude, and also try to like stay in the day. Like I talked a little bit about, like, I got sober back in 2009, and like that was fucking mayhem for a long time. But you know, like
yeah, your
part
story
of that,
is pretty incredible. I remember you telling me a long time ago, you know, and it's like, man, you know,
yeah,
you're one of the lucky ones to get out of it, dude.
right,
Honestly, you know,
and like, you know, not to make it all about like sobriety, but like one of the things like I learned early on to help me with staying sober was like one day at a time. You know, it's like it's a one day at a time thing. Like I can do this today, and like you know, I've really been implementing that principle recently, because like what'll happen is like, you know, I'll start spinning out and be like, fuck man, I'm like this age, and like I don't this savings, and what am I gonna, what does my career look like, and when work starts back up, what's that gonna look like, and how long am I gonna be able to save money, and then like, do I want to be in New York anymore? I've been there almost 2 decades, and I'm tired of the grind and the hustle and the hurdles, and you know, it's fucking hard in New York, and like, and so like I start spinning out about like, and none of those answers, like I can't answer any of those questions.
Every one of those is a question that will have to unfold, you know what I mean? Or an answer that will unfold eventually, you know? Yeah. Yeah. For
Right.
sure.
So if I just remind myself on a daily basis, like keep it in the day. Today I have food in my stomach. Today I got a roof over my head. You know, today, like, what are all these things that I'm like grateful for today? And like, and that's been helping me. And then of course, like I was talking about, like I've just been like writing nonstop. I mean, since I've been down here since the 17th, you know, I've written 3 new songs for the band. And, you know, I've been doing that. That essentially, you know, Pyrolatrous started kind of in like 2012, like it was sort of like a solo project. And that was like nearing the end of, you know, nearing the end of Hull sort of. And it kind of came out of some of the frustrations of things like, that I wasn't getting from Hull. And so I started this project, solo thing. And then, so anyway, you know, over the years, like basically, not at all that it's like, it's my band or it's my project. Like, I don't look at it like that. You know, the band is very cohesive. It's a very cohesive unit.
Yeah. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying it's your brainchild. It's your fucking,
well, yeah. So,
you know what I mean? It's so funny. It's so hilarious how the punk rock guilt, like, will literally drive you to not take credit for your shit that you made.
Right.
You know? It's like, I do it to me. I write 99% of the songs in tongue. I fucking write all the lyrics. I sing all the songs. And yet I still am hesitant to be like my band. You know? Right. I do the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, because now it is such, like, it was a solo thing for a long time. And then Lev Weinstein joined, from like Krallis and Anacon and Woe and Gary On and fucking a million other bands he plays in.
Ripper.
Yeah, he's such a beast. But so he joined, and then we, you know, I had 3 songs, and then we wrote another 6, and then we recorded Tenor together, and I did all the instrumentation and vocals and and samples and stuff, and he played drums. And then after that, you know, that's when we got Joe Marola and Nolan Voss, bass and guitar. And then since then, it's been like it's a very cohesive unit,
right?
And you know, and I love those guys. I love playing with them. Everyone's on the same page. And then with this new album, Inveterate, so what I was saying is, like, basically I write all of the skeletons of all the songs. Like I do it on my computer. I program drums. You know, I use like Steven Slate plugin, and I do all the drums via MIDI, and then I record all my ideas, and I put them together, and I send it to the guys like as songs, as like completed like song ideas. So somebody can hear it in context, you know, and then we'll take it, and then we learn it, and then like we, you know, work out dynamics, and like, you know, Nolan is like a fucking ripper guitar player, and he you know, he comes up with all the solos, and then we'll work out harmonies, and then Joe is just like a phenomenal bassist. He's way better than me, and you know, he'll come up with these like crazy bass lines, and then it becomes like a cohesive song from the band, you know. And
definitely.
But yeah, I mean, this just gives me like a really good opportunity to like write a lot of these skeletons that, like, you know, and of course it's crazy because like I look at it sort of like a sketchbook. So I'll come in and I'll just come up, I'll figure out riffs, and I'll write some riffs, and like I'll be like, oh, that's fucking rad riff, and I'll video myself playing it so I don't forget how to play it.
Right. I do that, dude. The amount of riffs I have forgotten over the years, you're like, what the fuck, man?
Right. And then my ear is good, but like these weird chords that I do.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
I video all the shit, and then I use it as like a sketchbook, and I sketch these like riffs out in these songs, and then like I'll go back. If I go back to that song like a week later, I'm not going to be able to play it all the way through.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like, you know, and so then it takes we worked on Inveterate. We worked on the entire year last year. Like we played one live show, and so I'm like dying to play a live show.
Yeah.
One live show last year. You know, and then on top of the other part of the equation was like I was out on tour as a guitar tech, and then
how many months out of this last year were you gone? It seemed like you were gone a lot, man.
I was gone a lot, but really, you know, I think I was maybe gone probably 4 or 5 months out of the year. It wasn't like a brutal touring schedule.
Oh, okay. That's manageable. You know, yeah. You're home enough to make the trips fun still. You know, when you start hitting that over 6 month mark, you're like, this feels like a job a little bit, dude, you know?
Oh yeah. No, it's stressful.
Yeah. All right, guys, we had a little technical difficulties here. But anyway, I think we were talking before we stopped about, you know, you've been a guitar tech for the last 10 years or so?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not 10, but professionally probably 7. What year is it? What day is it, man?
Yeah, I know. It's just what? This is the longest fucking 2020 ever.
Yeah. Probably like 7 years or so.
That's cool. And, so how did you find yourself getting into it? And then I really wanted to know, like, as a musician, dude, it's, you know, I don't really have a huge problem relinquishing power. Generally, if someone wants to take some, I'm fucking fine. Like, please. But how do you like find yourself stepping in a new situation with new bands and stuff, and like navigating that dynamic? I mean, I know you were used to it because we've all toured together, and you know what it's like to be in a van. But like when you have someone's gear that is, you're just like, dude, what are you doing? You know.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll start by saying the first thing I'll say is like complaining is tour cancer, right? So
100%, dude.
You know, the other thing is like someone that is has a good personality, is likable, is funny, works well with others, but might not be good at their job technically,
right,
is going to last way longer than somebody that is amazing at their job technically but is a fucking asshole.
Totally, dude.
It's like 85% of it, I think, is just works well with others.
Oh, 100%, dude. Yeah.
So I'll start by saying that. But like, okay, so how I got into it. So basically, you know, I've been playing guitar, you know, my whole life, and then started band. My first band, I was like 12 or 13, and then played in bands forever and touring, and then just doing that, and just, you know, over the years, like tinkering with gear, and I became like a total gear nerd, and bought tons of amps and heads, and then like I would, you know, I started getting into all that and modding stuff and whatever, and then I went to school for audio engineering, and originally thought that I might go the route, you know, I did some like front of house like live engineering for a while, and recorded some bands and that kind of stuff, and thought I was going to go that route, and I took a couple electronics classes in school, and it sort of like sparked my interest into like I don't know, one day I was just like, man, I've been playing guitar my whole life, how do I not know how to work on my own guitar? Like, I spend money.
I'm at that point now, dude. I really am. I'm almost embarrassed that I don't know how to fucking fix anything.
Right. Like, I would bring my guitar into a tech to have them like intonated and whatever. And so just like those electronics classes like sparked my interest in that, in like working on guitars. And so I started working on my own guitars. So like I would like watch YouTube tutorials, and I would like read books, and I would start like fixing and tinkering my guitars, and I would post them on Instagram and shit.
Mm-hmm.
and then just, you know, because of like the very small following that like Hull had, and just like the metal scene in New York, and like having networking and whatever, like I wound up, a lot of people started hitting me up being like, oh, can you, you know, fix a pot, like a volume pot or whatever.
Right.
Like,
Simple shit.
I'd be like, yeah. And I
Yeah.
would, you know,
Yeah.
I would take
no
the
problem.
guitar, and I would teach myself how to do it, and I would post about it and do that, whatever. And then, so the way I got into teching was, you know, at one point, a friend of mine, who is now he is the monitor engineer for Portugal the Man. So it came full circle, but he kind of like got me my first gig. He had teched with Not a Surf like a couple days. He had done like a weekend gig with them. He got the gig somehow. I don't even know, but he got the gig, and then, you know, they had asked him again if he could do it, and he was like, you know, like, I'm not really a guitar tech. I'm a monitor. I'm a front of house engineer. He's like, but I know someone, you know, and and actually, I'll interject. Years ago, I actually wound up doing one tech gig for Killing Joke, and that was
Oh, cool.
that was a crazy scenario. I was living at the time. It was like before I got sober, and I was like doing tons of drugs with this guy Edu, and I lived in this like piece of shit place in Brooklyn, and Edu played in this group with Burton from Fear Factory, and so we would always hang out. Burton would come stay with us, and we'd do like a bunch of coke and shit together and whatever.
Yeah.
And
Classic tale.
their band was playing with Killing Joke, and Burton was like, hey man, like you know, he was like a fan of Hull, and he was like, you know, we were friends, and he was like, oh, like Killing Joke needs a tech, and I was like, oh fuck it, what, okay, and I did it, and I just, the whole entire time I just like kept rolling, like at the time I was selling a bunch of weed, I kept rolling joints and just lighting them and bringing them out to the dudes on stage, and they loved me. Like I like tuned their guitars and whatever. But so anyway, fast forward, like, so getting into like this teching, and you know, Rush, who's the monitor engineer of Portugal now, you know, he hit me up. He was like, yo, like, Not a Surf needs a tech. Like, I'm not really a guitar tech. Like, can you do it? And I was like, I'm not a guitar tech. And he's like, dude, you tour in a band, you know how to work on guitars, you play guitar forever, you fucking know gear, you're a guitar tech.
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly. Yeah.
I was like, all right, yeah, I guess I am. And so like I wound up, you know, working with them, and they are just like amazingly lovely guys. Like I love them. They're like family now. But so I wound up working with them, and then little by little, just like, you know, it's like anything, it's an experience, and then like learning how the house works, learning what a stage manager does, learning what a production manager does, and all of that stuff is just, it's just kind of like, you got to get put into the fire to learn.
Oh, you have, it's that whole entire industry is all trial by fire, you know. It's crazy because like the
right.
And those things that you're talking about now, those dial into almost any aspect in real life. You know, I work at construction, you know, I'm foreman for a big construction thing, and I would exactly the same. I would take someone that's gung-ho, willing to try, with less skill than some dude that's a professional for 40 years and it's a fucking nightmare. You know, when you go into those situations, I always think like, you know, my fucking punk rock, like DIY ethos has gotten me really far in this outside world of construction very fast. And it's because a few things. I'm not going to tell you I'm a fucking professional if I'm not.
Right.
You know, I'm going to admit when I'm wrong. Admitting when you're wrong or fucked up is the number one thing. You know what I mean? And it's like,
and that's, sorry to interject, but like that's a key component in it, is that regardless of how like nervous I might have been in a gig or whatever, if I didn't know how to do something, especially like, you know, for example, like RF on like a wireless guitar or something, I would immediately say like, sorry, I don't have experience with this. I don't know how to do it. Can you show me? Or, you know, like whatever. And, you know, 99% of the time, the people are super cool. They'll show you how to do it. They understand. And then you learn how to do it. And then next time you know how to do it, and you keep taking those little skills and building upon it. And, you know, I find that when I've worked with people like that before, that like their ego takes over, and they're like, you know, they act like they know everything, and they might not know, but they act like it. And then and then they fuck shit up royally, and then and it's never a good scene. And so that's
and it's always like this. And then he didn't do it, and he fucking didn't do it. You know, it's like, you know, if you were to take the 2 seconds, let your ego down, and realize that you're not the king shit. You know what I mean? That, you know, it's just so weird. It translates everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so like basically little by little, like I kept doing that, and then I wound up like, you know, doing more research and like, you know, figuring out, like I got word from another tech, like check out like Stu Mac or whatever, and then, you know, and then like learning, you know, all parts and like, you know, tour supply, and like, and then you start, you know, people in the industry, they know a little here, they know a little there, they know, you know, and then I started learning all this stuff. And you know, I have to mention Marcus Schaefer. Like he's the guy, he built all the guitars for Hull.
Yeah, and those are incredible guitars, dude.
He's amazing. He's an amazing luthier. He's an amazing human. He's one of my favorite people. He's just like, he'll give you the shirt off his back. That guy knows about like everything. Like he knows how to fix a car. He knows how to like, he can build a house. He's amazing. And his response anytime I would ever be like, dude, how do you know all this? He's always like, it's not rocket science. You know, he's just like one of those kind of guys. But
but it kind of fucking is, dude. You know,
he taught me a ton, and I'm like insanely grateful to him. But yeah, it's just, you know, little by little, and then like, you know, the word spreads and networking, and then like, oh, like I know a guy, he's based in New York, and then, you know, I would get a random email from whatever, and like, you know, working with like Deer Tick, and I got a gig with like Good Charlotte, and I wound up working this last year on my 40th birthday. I was working with Graham Nash from Crosby, Stills and Nash.
That's a cool birthday present.
Yeah, and he was like so amazing, like such a fucking beautiful soul, like he was such a great guy. And then like, you know, I wound up like fast forward years later, I've had all these like amazing experiences, and like been able to like travel the world and like do, you know, have tattoos and wear what I want and do and not have a boss over my shoulder, work on fucking guitars, and like, and then yeah, I just kept taking those skills in my own shop in Brooklyn, where we rehearse, and I also have my guitar bench. I started like modding cables and like fucking modding amp heads, and like I would you know, I had like all these big huge pedals on my pedal board, and I wanted to like reduce my footprint, so like I tried figuring out how I could like, you know, make these pedals into like smaller chassis, and like so I just started doing, you know, I switched out all my speakers in my cabinets. I was, for a while there, I was like obsessed with like the fucking perfect tone, which doesn't exist, by the way.
The Quest,
the Quest is,
it's the Quest of the Holy Grail. It's not fucking real, bro.
Yeah, because dude, like, you know, I'll change the speakers, I'll put in different pickups. I was changing pickups like once a week for like a year, you know, like, and I'll go in there and I'll play some riffs, and like I'll be like, oh my god, this sounds amazing, and then like the next day I come in, and for whatever reason my ears aren't working the same way, and then so I would just keep doing that shit, and then taking on projects. Like people would be like, dude, I want to put in like a Bigsby, you know, tremolo in my guitar, or I want to put in an Evertune, like can you route this out for me? And I would be like, and I grew up with my dad building since I was little. Like I've done roofing, I've done flooring, I've done framing, I've done everything. So like I took all these skills, and I wound up, you know, making my own templates, and like started like routing bodies, like cavities for pickups, and like putting in these bridges, and yeah, you know, there's a learning curve and a learning process.
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes you fuck shit up and whatever, but like over time, it's just building on that to the point where now, like, you know, it's like I really do on a general basis have a really amazing life that I'm super happy with, that like I'm so, you know, I keep using that term grateful, but yeah, man, like it's really fucking awesome. I've been able to like plan vacations around tours, you know, like the bass player from Not a Surf, Daniel Lorca, he lives full-time in Ibiza, which is like, you know,
nice.
That's just like, I mean, he's Spanish.
Tough world over there. Yeah.
he's got this like tiny little, well, not even so tiny, but just like this fucking amazing like farmhouse in Ibiza. And on one tour I did with Gojira, we did like 2 weeks in Europe, and then we had a week off, and we were gonna do main support to Iron Maiden in Madrid
Nice.
the following weekend. So instead of flying all the way home and flying back to Spain the next weekend, the tour ended in Paris, and I hit up Daniel from Not a Surf, and he was like, "Anytime you want to come stay." I hit him. I was like, "Yeah, so
Hey, well,
said
guess
I could come
what?
stay." So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I went and
Yeah.
stayed with him for a week, rented a car for like $160 for the week, and went fucking snorkeling and like cave diving and cliff jumping and like all this amazing shit. And he's also like one of the world's best cooks, and so we just had like this like ridiculous food every night. And then I flew from Ibiza to Madrid and did this like one-off show with Iron Maiden, which was also just like totally fucking
I mean, yeah,
mind-blowing.
12-year-old dream, right? Yeah.
Right. And you know, so like I've been able to do that kind of stuff. Like yeah, I did a tour with Propaganda, which is
Oh, that's rad. That band is so incredible, man.
dude, I
Probably
from
some of the most hardworking Canadians I've ever met, and they all seem to be working pretty hard. You know?
yeah, I mean they so Propaganda was like one of my favorite bands since I was 14. Like
Oh, really?
I love that band. And I got the gig. Taylor, the tour manager from Gojira, he hit me up about it. And I swear, like when before it was even confirmed, when he just like he called me and like asked me if I would be into doing it. It wasn't even confirmed. I kind of got choked up because I was like, this is like a dream come true, you know,
Right.
like just the possibility of touring with Propaganda. Like I was like, this is, you know, so I get this gig. I do 2 weeks in Europe with them, which was just super fucking awesome. Those guys are great. They're like, you know, like talking about all these stories that I heard, you know, since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And then so, you know, I have this the tour ends in London, and I was going to do another 3-week tour with Ben Howard in Europe 10 days later. So instead of going home, that was 2 years ago over Thanksgiving. And instead of going home, I stayed with my friend, one of my best friends in London, for 4 days and did like Stonehenge and did all that shit. And then I flew super cheap flight. I flew to Scotland by myself and rented a camper van.
Oh,
And
nice.
I drove around Scotland by myself for a week in like the Highlands and like Loch Ness and all these castles. And it was like,
man, too bad you don't drink, buddy.
no, you know
Some of that
what
scotch would have been woo.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, you know, talk about life changing. That was
I bet it's gorgeous, man.
it was like beyond, like I can't even words can't even describe. Like Scotland
Yeah.
is one of the most beautiful places on earth. But yeah, that was the first like vacation I'd ever done on my own, and it, I mean, it was like life changing. And then you know, so my point being is like I've been able to like do all this amazing shit, plan these crazy vacations around it, have like expenses paid to go do this stuff, come home with money to pay my rent.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, are there struggles and are there times when we're flying from fest to fest and get no sleep and like carrying all this crazy gear and whatever? Yeah, you know, sometimes it sucks, but for the most part, it's like it's a pretty fucking amazing career. But it's also the stability is hard, you know.
I mean, anyone who's had the rare opportunity to fucking follow something they'd love to do, let alone have the privilege to make a living doing it. I mean, you especially, and me are 0.001 fucking percent of people that have ever dared to follow a dream or a passion or something like that. You know what I mean? And to be like, for any of us to be able to set out and play music and maybe come home with money, maybe not, but just to follow what it is that you want to do. And then to navigate that into making that your actual career is so fucking special, because I work in, you know, where I work, and I work with tons of people that had huge goals for themselves when they were kids and wanted to do things and got their wives pregnant or got in the union early and have been working their whole entire lives not doing the one thing they wanted to fucking try, and not even daring to do it at this point. You know what I mean? It's, I use that as a constant reminder to think how lucky I am that I've been able to even touch on a whatever inch of fucking, you know, passion that, you know, people don't even follow at all. You know what I mean? Like, It's really
Right,
hard
right.
to not have gratitude if you can put it in those types of framework, you know?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because it's like it's something that I feel like I was born at, just like inherently knew. Like I've always been like very rebellious, so I've always kind of done what I wanted to do, and I always like there's just like certain things about society that I just like, before I was old enough to even be taught this stuff, I just kind of knew it. And like, yeah, I mean, my whole life, like the idea, the thought of like working 40 to 60 hours a week, until you're whatever, 60, 65, 70, and then you retire and you're too old to do any of these things you wanted to do. And it's all because of like the grind of this fucking brutal capitalism. Like, I'm personally like I'm quite far left as far as like politics go. And the older that I've gotten, it's weird because a lot of people will be like, oh, the older you get, the more center you get. And I find
Right.
that the older I've gotten, the like kind of farther left I get. And like, I'm glad you brought it up because it sort of relates to what's going on now is like, everyone I've been talking to recently is like, with this pandemic and like, this time that they've been able to like be at home and like be away from the grind of like just the brutal fucking grind of all like constant consumerism in your face. Like I live in New York City. It's everywhere. It's, there's constant insecurity. People always feel like they have to be wearing the new what's next.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
like, and it's just like, and I could have a whole podcast about all this, like, and I'll spare you on all that. But like, I feel like a lot of the problems that's going on in the world is like based out of this mentality where it's just like this constant production and all the shit that is like pumped. People believe that like because of marketing and capitalism, people believe we need this shit. And
Yeah.
we're put in a position where we're like, only essential items and essential stores are open and you start realizing like we don't need all this stuff, and this stuff is what's fucking killing the world.
Oh yeah, 100%,
So and a lot of people I've been talking to recently are fucking fed up and like don't want to go back to the life that, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I was just describing to you, like, yes, my life is awesome. It's
Oh
amazing.
yeah, but I mean, that's in moments, right? I mean, the other times scrapping for fucking your rent, that's not
Right.
fun. You know what I mean? And I think if anything, this this whole Corona thing is such a nightmare. But I think if anything, this is a huge wake up call on what really is important. What if, and I said it before, if all the times right now is the time to bank on your fucking self, dude. I mean, we're in the end of capitalism. This is just about where the line is going to start running out on how far you can take a capitalist society.
Well,
And I think it's inherent that it is going to need a tear down and a fucking redo. Whether it's, and I'm not opposed to capitalism. It's brought us to this point. Me and you were sitting in our houses 3,000 fucking miles away talking. That's capitalism. Freely about whatever we want. There's good and bad about all of it. But I think this is, after we come out of this will be the most important decision we ever make is, are we going to continue letting these fucks completely destroy and ruin our lives and our children's lives and our future? And this isn't a political left or right, because I find myself, here is extreme right, here's extreme left, and then here's a fucking circle where everyone else is. You know what I mean? It's like, I think this is going to be the changing point where everyone goes, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah, I mean, I
Bernie
hope so,
Sanders just dropped out of the election. You got Joe fucking stumbles Biden, and you got another weird, Trump. Get ready, because 4 more years of Trump are coming, dude. I mean, that's what's happening.
I truly,
and after that, what do you do? What do you fucking do?
I truly believe it, and I'm feeling very disheartened today because like I'm a huge Bernie supporter. Like Bernie, like I said, I lean very far left. Bernie is the farthest left of any candidate that was running, and him dropping out, it is very disheartening because it's just like two sides of the same oligarchical coin.
Oh,
you know
100%.
what I mean? And it's the corporate powers that be. It's the like more money for bombs. It's the fucking, it's like, it's just this like old school, inherently like long ago ingrained like white man fucking patriarchal society. And like, I don't know. It's I would think that the
Sorry,
that
he's
we
going to
would
jump
have.
in on the anarcho
No, it's
talk.
okay. Hi, buddy. I would think that, like, you know, America would have like hit its bottom, but like
Yeah.
apparently not so. And I fully agree with what you're saying. Is like, it's 2016 all over again, and I will eat my words if it's not true, but I swear it's we just got 4 more years of Trump.
Yeah,
I truly
I
believe
mean,
that. Like,
hey, it's happening, dude. I mean,
yeah,
you know, there's and what it is to me is we are in the throes of late capitalism, dude. I mean, that's really where it is. It's
right,
this shit cannot happen anymore. I mean, you see, like, the only power I feel we have is as a consumer, right? The only thing we can really control. I mean, there's a million things you can control: your gratitude, your outlook, all these things. But as far as physical control, this
right,
is a capitalist system. It's based off consuming and buying shit. If you want to make a real fucking difference in this world, stop buying shit. Stop
right,
buying
right,
gas. Look at what's happening. No one's working, right? That means no one's driving. That means gas is under fucking $3 a gallon right now. It's $2.60.
right,
So you see exactly what happens when people choose to not purchase. That's how you fucking destroy the system or rebuild it
right,
and bend it to your will or our will. Because when you stop buying shit, they fucking start listening. That's
right,
exactly how it works. And I think
right.
that has to be our message is
Well, and
don't
you know what?
support it anymore.
Right. You know what's sad about it is that it's taken a global pandemic to get people to start fucking thinking about it. And what I'm worried about too is like, it's like anytime this shit happens, like there's like, you know, mass shootings or whatever, it's like nothing changes, you know. And I feel like it's like once business goes back to normal,
Business as
you know, it's
usual.
like it's business as usual. And you know, like I fear that, like, you know, maybe there'll be a percentage of people that are like, fuck this, like fuck this shit, like I'm doing something differently. But
Yeah.
like
It's
you
you
know,
know, and I'm saying I said I went on that whole tirade as a dude that literally just got packages from Amazon today. So you know, it's we're all
yeah,
hip. You know, it's like you can only do what you can do, but there will be a tipping
well,
point. And I think we're riding on it. There will be a tipping point where there will be
right,
actual conflict. I'll be shocked. I mean, just to get out in the weeds, I will be shocked if this doesn't develop into a conflict with China eventually. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah, no,
you know what
I
I mean?
know,
And part of me, as dumb as it might sound, part of me is for it because fuck that, dude. We've been letting these prick politicians and businessmen sell us out to China, not making shit in America. The cheapest fucking dollar wins. If we bring shit, you know, I'm a very pro union man. Like if we bring
right,
shit back to America, we start manufacturing, and yes, we can do it with safe regulations, with a decent pay, with fucking environmental shit that's not going to destroy everyone. We can do
right,
all that. And the CEO of Walmart doesn't need to make 8.5 billion fucking dollars a year. You know what I mean? Like it can all be
right,
done.
right.
So I think if anything comes out of this, we need to get off of we need to get out of everyone's fucking business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's the main thing. I think it always boils down to like a moral judgment where it's like it's always like, you know, profit over people or like like economy over environment. And I don't know, like just like when is that mentality going to change? But you know, like keeping it on a positive note, you know, it's like and as far as like getting back to like touring and traveling and that kind of stuff is like, you know, the thing that I've been like most fortunate about is like being able to like travel as much as I do and see as much of the world as I've seen. And like when you know, when you're able to do that, when people are able to do that and they start seeing other cultures and other people living and like surviving and doing the same things that you do, and you just realize that like people are people and like everyone, you know, like yeah, you know, different cultures like are different obviously, and different foods and different clothing and different attire and different whatever, but like but people are people, and it makes you a more worldly person, and it sort of like alleviates a lot of fear. And I think like the main problem like in any conflict is just it's always it's fear, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fear.
It's fear, it's perspective. You know what I mean? Like, you being from New York, like, there's probably people that have never fucking left their borough. That, you know what
Right.
I mean? Like, and that's how the little bit of traveling I've done, it opens up your mind so much on what's fucking going on in the world. You realize it's easy to say America's the best fucking country on earth, but you go to some countries, you're like, this place is pretty cool, And
Yeah.
then you go to some other countries, you're like, get me out of here.
The
Get
fuck
me
out of
back to
here.
New
Yeah.
York. I will ride on a subway naked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just, I think that it's the great travel is the great, like,
Yeah.
well, it's a prejudice
Well,
killer for one, you
for
know what I mean?
example, and one of the reasons I was so bummed about like Mexico being canceled. Like Mexico is such a beautifully delightful place. Like it is, the people are so nice, like the culture is so vibrant, the food is fucking amazing. Like um it's so great, and it's so vastly different, it's so huge, it's such a big nation. And like, you have people that are like, educated from Fox News or something like that, living in middle America, and they don't get, and it's the fear talking, and it's like, oh, Mexicans are bad and cartel and blah blah blah, and
Oh yeah.
and then there's this whole like made up idea of what Mexico or the Mexican culture is, and like it's like in reality it's like, what I mean, and then that just translates into so many different forms.
Right.
And and it just like it grows and it grows and it grows, and like conflict comes out of it, and fucking it's just
Well, it's just the
I,
truth in reality. You know what I mean? The truth in reality, when you actually see when you see how someone lives, and you see that their problems are the same as your fucking problems, and you're there in another country and you guys can barely speak to each other, but you both know that your girlfriends are both fucking pissed at you. You know what I mean? Like, you can really, you see that everyone's problems are the same, dude, whether you're Mexican or fucking from anywhere, like
right.
I revert back to that Mark Twain. I just pulled it up. There's a really good Mark Twain quote. Um, uh, I read it. I read it every once in a while just to remind myself not to be a prick. Um, but travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, he's totally fucking right. I mean, whatever weird shit you got in your head, it's as soon as you get out of your comfort zone, out of your element, you start to see that, we are really people, and it's not a fucking party line, and it's not a political discussion, and it's not a fucking religious problem. It's just people are people. It's pretty amazing to see, and that's what one of the cool things about playing music is. I did want to ask though, just bringing it back to music, what is there a band that when you saw their secret, I'm a big guy about tone and stuff, like, is there a band that totally fucking surprised you with like their tuning, their choice of gear, how they set their stuff up? I mean, I'm sure it's all kind of a little different, but is there anyone that really you thought, wow, this is real outside of the box shit?
Let me think. That like really surprised me. I don't know. I mean, well, like I did a tour with Wolf Alice, and and great band, great people. And their guitar player Joff, like he's got like a double pedal board, and it's just fucking huge, and so many pedals, and like MIDI, and like, I mean, so involved, like digital pedals, and just I mean, it's like it was crazy. I mean, it was crazy. It was like it took a bit of wrapping my head around it, and like the stuff that he does with it. And I guess I wouldn't have really thought that he would be using something like that compared to like what I heard recorded.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes things like that, happen. It's like Gojira still uses like all like EVH gear. They're like sponsored by EVH, and there's like the tube heads and all that stuff. And like, generally speaking, I feel like most bands, you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like that they play with they're a Fender band, or like,
Right.
they're using these big tube heads, or like, they're using a Fender Princeton or whatever. Like it makes sense. So I don't think I've had any scenarios that I'm just like kind of blown away as far as like the gear they're using compared to like the music they're making. But it is good. I mean, it's like, I working with so many different bands, you have to become like a very well-rounded, like knowledgeable tech, because it's like, some bands are using Kempers, and some bands are using tube heads, and some bands are using combos, and some bands are using solid states, and some bands are using fucking, pedal to PA kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like it's like, you have to, and then you have to become knowledgeable of like radio frequency and wireless and stuff like that. And like, and it just keeps going, and you just keep learning. And, it is like it's a, it's a very involved world. I mean, like I worked with Ben Howard, and that was like probably the biggest tour I've done. And we were doing like arena tours and arena shows, and I mean the crew, it was incredible. I mean, they had 3 or 4 semi trucks, then they had 2 or 3 tour buses.
Yeah.
There was, an assistant tour manager per bus. There was the regular tour manager. There was the stage manager, assistant stage manager. There was like front of house audio tech, and then there was stage audio tech, and then there was monitors and monitor tech, and then we had 4 caterers that toured with us. And when we would eat 3 meals a day, and they would have menus out for us for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and the food was fucking phenomenal.
Oh, I bet, dude.
And just the crew, I mean, the crew alone was so big. And then you think about like on a bigger level, like Metallica, and they're
something like that, yeah.
100 fucking tractor trailers, and just like, I mean, it's like,
what a machine, man.
Yeah, just the
what a machine,
Well, and the amount of work that goes into this stuff behind the stage, and the amount of knowledge, and the amount of like different players that are involved in behind the scenes of like making a show happen. You think about like 9 Inch Nails when they play. I mean, it's like a massive fucking production, and which takes us back to like this pandemic issue. And it's like, yes, I mean, so many different like industries are out of work right now, but especially like the touring industry, it's fucking brutal, because there's from like riggers to like LDs to like, I mean, house, stage, the guys that like put the stage together, like I mean, like every single aspect. And it's like nothing's happening, and there's no work. And it's like, if this is going to be going on for the remainder of the year, possibly, it's like, that's a lot of people just in one industry. That's like
totally, man. I wonder too, it's like, so say best case scenario that by June we're kind of out of the bad, and they start redacting their, we'll see if they start redacting all the stuff they've enabled. But it's like, man, you're looking at June, and now every single band, every comedian, every musician is fighting for this current future dates. You know what I mean? So like, I wanted to know, like, do you have a plan for later in the year, or are you just really winging it at this point?
No, nothing at all. I had a full like month tour scheduled with Not a Surf, the end of May to June. That's canceled. That was a big chunk of money right there. I had some dates with Blind Melon, some festival dates. I had this week that was supposed to happen with Portugal the Man, along with like other like peppered festivals and stuff like that throughout the rest of the year, and other things were supposed to be coming in. I mean, it's like all of that shit has been canceled, and like right now I'm depending on I finally got through after like a week of trying to like New York State unemployment, which was a fucking nightmare. And then there was a whole other hurdle with that where, I finally got on the phone with a woman, and she was like an utter horrible bitch. And granted, she's, probably dealing with so many people every day, but she was like basically screaming at me, and I was like, listen, like, I understand you're frustrated. I'm frustrated as well. Like,
You're calming her down.
yeah, I was like, listen, like, I have been trying to do this for a week. I finally got
Yeah.
in touch with you. She was like, well, I need this information. I was like, well, give me a moment to like sign into my payroll information online. And then, so
Yeah.
long story short is like, you know, my payroll company is based in California. She's like, we don't have them on file. I was like, I paid taxes for, you know, like, I'm a New York State resident. I qualify for unemployment. I need this.
Yeah.
And so long story short, she's like, well, I need to send you, it's not on file. So I need to send you a packet, and then you need to fill it out and print your payroll information and send it back to us before you can get paid. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a caveat in the situation because I'm in Maryland right now. Can you send it to me here? She's like, I can't change the address in the system or it's going to void the unemployment. I need to send it to your apartment. I'm like, okay, well, fortunately, I have a friend in Brooklyn that actually has the keys to my apartment.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah.
He was able to like go to my place, get my mail, send it to me. I still haven't gotten it yet. And then I had to print all the shit. Girlfriend's parents didn't have a printer. We had to buy one. So you know, I'm still waiting. Like, I still haven't gotten any.
Oh yeah, dude. I got friends that have applied and not even a fucking word yet. You know, I mean, would they go to 15 million, like in like 2 weeks or something? Yeah, I mean, it's nuts, man. But so you don't see. I mean, obviously, you're just going to be winging it for the rest of the year. I mean, how do you feel? How do you feel New York's going to bounce back? I mean, do you think does it feel like I mean, I know not yet, but like, were you there during 9/11?
No, I moved there in 2003. My sister was, though.
Yeah. So I wonder if, like, you know, New York's so fucking like, you know, responsive. It's like, man, I wonder if it'll really help unify a lot of these big cities like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, we hope
a little stronger, hopefully.
I hope so. You know, and like I was saying a little earlier on, is like, for me personally, like well, you know, I noticed that like over the last couple times, like I've made some trips and like going to like some like islands or Hawaii or whatever. And like, you know, granted, it's always like vacation mode. And I try to remember that, but like, I just realized like in this last trip, like just how much happier and like less anxious and like less fucking FOMO I had, and less like, you know, when I was like in an environment that was just like, you know, warm and like just people were nicer, and I could go to the beach, like go hiking, and I was like, you know what, like the future of New York for me, man, I've been there, like I said, 17 years, and I've done a lot of great shit. I love New York. It's like a black hole. It's hard to leave. There's a lot of amenities there, and I've had a lot of like amazing experiences I never would have had anywhere else. But like I think I'm done, man. Like I like, I'm so tired of the constant grind, the fucking people everywhere, the noise, the like, it's like we live in this trash pit and pay. I mean, yo, I live in a tiny like 200 square foot studio apartment, and in Bushwick, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I built it out. I made it really nice. I painted it. So it's great, whatever. But like, I pay $1,300 a month, and
that's like cheap, probably, right?
Which, you know what, is a very, very good deal. Like, my friends are like, "Oh my god, how did you find a place that cheap?" Right? And anywhere
when you walk in and you fucking touch the other wall when you walk through the front door, you'll know why. You know.
Right. I mean, and like anywhere else USA, with the exception of a few cities, I mean, people are like, yo, dude, I spend $1,100 a month on a mortgage, a 4-bedroom house, and a pool. You know, it's like, granted, you know, it's like location, and like, oh, like, you know, people do that because they're in. It's like, you know, after a while, I had to start looking at like, am I just still there because I'm like, I can say I live in Brooklyn. Like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, I don't party. You know, like, I don't care. You know, talking about like bands and stuff, like for years and years, I had this attachment to like this kind of like ego attachment of like, we gotta make it, and I have to, like, my band's gotta be on this fest, and we gotta be on this label, and like, you know, in order to like, it was like validation, you know, I needed the validation. And and I've gotten to this point, is this maybe with like age or whatever, like I don't give a fuck. I don't care about promoting my band
Oh,
anymore. If you
totally,
like
dude.
it, if you don't, you don't. I
Yeah.
love it. I don't care. And it's just like I like, you know, I don't know. I, basically what I'm saying is like I think I'm ready for like a big change. And I love my band members. I have no thoughts about like leaving the
Yeah.
band or anything, and
Of
like
course, yeah.
seeing if I could
But
do
no, I
it.
mean, it's a part of getting older, dude. Like you just don't want to. I got 3 kids. I'm, late 30s. You're just turned 40. It's like this is the age where you really just start shedding all the like previous ego, the fucking FOMO, I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck. I'm pro FOMO, dude. I love missing shit. Like, you know what I mean? I'll miss anything, bro. I don't give
Yeah.
a I mean, dude, there's incredible bands that'll play right down the street from my house, this little shitty dive bar, and I'm like,
Yeah.
not gonna make it.
No,
You know?
dude,
And I want to see them. It's like, dude, I just don't
yeah.
give a shit.
I live
Like,
a couple miles from St. Vitus in Brooklyn,
right? Nah,
and it's like,
nope.
amazing bands play there every week, and seriously, most of the time, I mean, it's because when I tour and I do that for work, I'm at a show every night when I
Yeah,
get home.
that's a whole nother animal, dude.
But it's like I'd much rather just be at home, like working on my own music or like watching a TV show or reading
I
a
feel
book.
you, bro.
Um,
So, I wanted to ask though, what I always we've been ending these we're calling these the Corona Chronicles. I've been ending
nice.
these with what have you been watching on Netflix, or have you watched anything recently that like totally you were stoked on, or obviously besides Tiger King, you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, I watched this show called Hunters on Amazon Prime,
that's a
and it
good
was
one.
Al Pacino about hunting Nazis. Is fucking awesome. Anything with like gratuitous violence and like killing Nazis, I love it. But I watched Year One last night. I love that movie. You know,
Year One?
it, Jack Black and Michael Cera.
Oh,
It's a
the caveman movie.
fucking stupid, so
That's so
stupid.
good.
It's
That
so
is
dumb.
so good, man. I was
But
like,
yeah,
Year One, like the Jack Black movie?
yeah. You know what I did watch recently though? That was amazing. It was like the best movie I've seen in a long time. It was 1917. That was a
I watched that recently, man, and that was a great piece of fucking film, man.
it's
Just the way
one
it's
shot.
shot, and is it really? It is one shot, right?
Yeah.
Because
It's
I'm such a moron. I like explosions, so I get sidetracked quick, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, wow, what a beautiful
Yeah.
film, man.
Yeah, the soundtrack to everything, man.
Yeah. Well,
But
I wanted to say, I mean, before we go, you got anything you want to get out, promote? I mean, obviously the record's on hold now, but you got
yeah.
you throw all of your shit out there if you want, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we, like I said, we just recorded this new album. It's 7 songs. It's called Inveterate, and it was recorded by Brett Romness and mixed by Sanford Parker. Working on getting it mastered, and Jazz Helena, who did the artwork for the first album, Tenorol, she's going to do artwork for this one again, and yeah, I mean, we're not sure. We were very happy with Gilead Media on the first one, and Adam is great. Love Adam. I talked to him at the beginning of the year about releasing it, and he was like, yeah, I love you guys, and I want to release it again. He's like, but I can't. Realistically, I can't really do anything until like November or
Yeah, yeah.
so.
Especially when all this happens, dude. It's a wrap, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and so, and originally we were like, damn, we want to get it out before that, and blah blah blah. We might try like talking to someone else or whatever. But now and then the pandemic happened, so like it's and I there's been some people that are like, oh, just like release it, put it online, whatever this, but like me, like I think you share this mentality of like I tend to be a perfectionist, and like I'm not gonna release the album until it's like ready.
Yeah.
And so like it's kind of on hold, and so like and then of course we did the first album Tenorol on Gilead Media, and that's on you know, that's all on Bandcamp and all over, you know, Pyrolatrous.com, and like it's on Spotify and all that stuff.
Yeah. Find it
But yeah,
everywhere.
you know, and then moving forward in the future, it's just like I'm just like writing and writing and writing, so that like when we come out of this pandemic, that we'll have maybe a new album that we can start rehearsing to record
Right.
again. Like me, and maybe this will turn into like a double album, or like who knows.
It's endless, dude. Double album with 18-minute songs on each side.
Yeah. It's not like Hull. It's
Yeah.
they're a bit shorter.
Well,
I
fuck,
think
man.
8 minutes is the longest song on our new one.
Yeah, it's not bad, dude. Yeah. Hey, man, it's such a pleasure catching up with you, dude. I mean, I'm so stoked we got to talk. We haven't talked in a really long time, so.
Yeah. Well, face to face, it's been like a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. But anyway, all right. Well, we're gonna get out of here.
All right. Give my best to everyone.
All right, later.